going to be looking at part 4 of Forms Basics, part 4 of the Google Forms Pentology. And here's what we're going to be looking at today. So far, we've been looking at the basics of forms. The last tutorial we had just kind of looked at how to send out a form, how to analyze, how to change some of the settings. Today, we're going to look at analyzing it. We're going to look at the Responses tab. We're going to look at how we can connect sheets, and we're going to do some data analysis. So let's get to that. Now, I have started off here with an authentic relationships feedback form, which many of you have already seen. If you're teaching in high school, you would have already seen this form because it's been used as sort of one of the examples of what we can do for gathering student feedback for exit slips, that sort of thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply take a look at this, and to get to here again, I just click on the little eyeball up there. Take a little preview. I'm just going to do 2, 3, 2, and 3, and I'm going to say great class and hit submit. So that's what it looks like to the user, whoever it is that's filling it in this case, probably some students. But one of the things, now that I've got a number of responses that have already been done, I did some ahead of time for this video, we see that it says responses 10. And in fact, if I go in here and I click this, and I do another one, 1, 2, 2, and submit. We'll see when I come back in here. I've now got 11 responses. So it's very, very quick. It's pretty much real time. And this is where we're going to be focusing in, is on the responses section. When I click on responses, I see a summary of all of the responses. So do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts? I have my responses here. And if I click over here, I can see the count. Actually, I'm not clicking, I'm just hovering. And it also tells me 4 or 36.4%. So it does a pretty nice job of giving me some quick graphs, which is really great. If I scroll down here, I can see that I have some more and so on. And then here are all the comments. And this is not particularly useful. I've actually got to hover over to see these things. They're all one count because they're more or less unique. Although love this class was the same count twice. That's probably more than anything because I'm the one who's filling these things in. So these are not particularly useful. But if I click up here, and this is where I really want to kind of focus in, is this guy right there. This is pretty cool because this guy is kind of a super tool, you could say. So let me just erase that there. By the way, I'm using Screencastify to highlight this stuff here. When I click on that green create spreadsheet, it's going to ask me if I want to create a spreadsheet. And I normally can just click create. In this case, it's going to call it copy. And don't worry about that. The reason why it's calling it copy is because I've done this once before. But I click on create, and that's going to create a new spreadsheet with all of my data. And that's all it takes. I just click on here and then click create, and it will open up a new spreadsheet for me that has all my data in here. And then if I were to go back in here, you'll see the last one is 122, and it's at 1340. If I click over here, submit a new one, and this one I'm going to do all threes just to make it easy to see. I'm going to put wonderful, click submit, because that's what our students always tell us about our classes, that they're wonderful. If I click in here, we see right away it's virtually instant. It was usually about a 2-second delay. I have that data in there. So this is a live view of our data. It comes in all the time whenever there are responses that are submitted, which is really, really cool. Now, once you're in here, you can do whatever you want with the data. The only thing you want to be careful about is you don't really want to start messing with stuff below here. If you mess with stuff below here, then your form responses will come below whatever you put in. So if I put something right there, for example, my next form response will be here. It won't be there, and it'll just keep filling in below. So you just want to be a little bit careful with that. If you want to do something like that, I recommend going down here, clicking on this, and using the duplicate feature. If I duplicate this, I'll get a complete copy of all of my information. I can do whatever I want with this here, and I won't affect my original form responses. You'll see that this is even purple with the little form icon on there. But Once I'm in here, I could do a bunch of other things too. Now we saw that we had some useful graphs in here, and that's great, but maybe we want some specific graphs. So I could create a graph with this question: do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts and feelings? But there are some fantastic tools that are built right into this that I can use. And that's all in the Explore tool. I'm going to click on the Explore tool. And the Explore tool is similar, if you're not familiar with the one in Sheets, it's similar to the one in Google Docs. It's just that this is specifically tied towards Sheets. And this one, you can ask questions. So I can say something like, what is the what is the average of thoughts, feelings? I can click on that. And it'll tell me the average of thoughts and feelings is 2. And it tells me right there when I hover over here, it will even highlight it, turning it green. It tells me what the average is, does all that without me even having to think about it. I can click on See Formula, and it will tell me that it did this formula, equals average B2 to B13. I can actually drag this over here, and let me see here, drag that over and let it go there, and it actually puts the formula right in place. Really, really cool. I'm gonna just undo that just so I can come back to there. Another thing I could ask, let's say that this was, instead of, in this case, this is, we really want to see an average, but I could say how many students said thoughts, feelings. And again, I'm just pulling off a little bit from here, thoughts, feelings. I hit enter, and it's smart enough to say how many. When I say how many, it's taking off students because there is no students in here. It doesn't say students at all. It's still smart enough to say, oh, you're asking about thoughts and feelings, which is in this column. It does a sum of the column B and tells me that there are 24. And I've even got a sum formula that I could drag in and use if I wanted to. So it's smart enough to do real language processing on this, which is really, really, really cool. But what if instead I don't want to have sums, I don't want to have average, I don't want to have anything like that. Instead, what if I want something like this? What if I want, make a chart for, do you feel that I care? And hit enter, and I can have a chart right there. I can click in insert chart, and there's my chart. If I don't like this, I can change this to a different type of chart, hitting edit here, and I can change the chart to a bar chart, for example, a column chart. Now, I can also use charts in many other different ways. And again, sometimes this will apply to what data you're looking at it, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes it won't. Highest in column D, for example. Well, the highest is going to be a 3. That's no big surprise. These are things that are being suggested. What is the average of column C after a certain date? Or I can see what's the median of column B, or what's the highest in column D, and so on. All of these things are pretty interesting real language processing, or even some suggestions that are giving you. So there we go. That is a quick way how you can get your data from your form that you've created into not only responses, but then into a sheet. The next time we look at Google Forms, we're going to look at using sections to create large and more complex spreadsheets and large, more complex forms. So until then, thanks for listening.